I'm not.
Okay, and we're back in Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. Lost 2 members who had outstanding obligations this week, but I am particularly going to encourage Senator Harrison to watch this, who is a quick study, and our only new member of the committee, Senator Cummings, knows a lot about JFO.
But hasn't necessarily met Ted. Have you met?
Senator Cummings? Yes.
Have you met?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Emily introduced me.
Great.
Okay.
But yes, I think this will be beneficial because some of us even last biennium didn't get quite the rundown. We might need to make sure we're collaborating in the best of ways and knowing the full scope of what you do. So Pat, thanks so much for joining us. And we know there's some shuffling happening. So, we'd love to hear from you how that's going.
Yeah, so Pat Chitterton from the Joint Fiscal Office. So I guess I'll just start by talking about myself, and then I'll talk about 2 other people who aren't here right now, and then we can get to Ted. But so my role is I sort of cover everything in the realm that has to do with economic development, workforce development, and a lot of it, sort of other ancillary topics that touch on your committee. I also do a lot of work in consumption taxes, but I don't think that comes up in here all too often.
Tangentially, because of vice issues, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
With liquor and lottery, cannabis.
That's a good one. Yeah. So I kind of wear a lot of hats and a lot of things to a lot of people. I also cover housing topics. When we get into topics such as like minimum wage or paid family leave, that's something that I'll work with Joyce on quite a bit.
Who's not working on Fridays.
Yes, so I guess just to lay the ground for her schedule, she scaled back a little bit this session. She was thinking maybe 3 days a week. We got her up to 4.
Good.
So she's going to be out every Friday. So if you're looking to schedule her, she won't be available on Fridays because we were able to convince her not to retire.
Wait, I was going to say she gets to semi-retire. We still want her knowledge.
Yes.
Well, this is important to know for State House singers that we will not be performing on a Friday morning.
Well, I don't know if it conflicts with her other singing duties.
That's
She
true.
does
She
sing
could
with
She's
us.
one of our
moonlight here on
strongest
Fridays.
singers.
But yeah, so I'm a joint fiscal analyst. I'm a fiscal analyst, not a joint fiscal analyst. Joyce is our senior economist next door. And Emily, who I haven't mentioned her name yet, she's going to be covering a few topics for this committee. I think she's planning on trying to be here, but she's got another meeting scheduled right now. So, but she'll be covering things related to TIP and veggie, which I think come up pretty regularly, probably every year.
Yes.
So she'll be kind of your point person on that. She is expected to be out starting around March, the end of March, on maternity leave.
Is she also? Oh my gosh! How exciting!
Yes, but I think the plan, and maybe Ted will tell you a little bit more about this, is he's going to kind of follow her around everywhere she goes to make sure they're over.
As another pregnant person, I appreciate you want me to make it seamless.
Yeah. And so I think I've met all of you so far. I know Senator Cummings. I'm happy I'll reach out directly to Wendy just to touch base with her. I was interested to hear she spent a while in Philadelphia. I think she should probably connect with our analyst, Chris Roop,
That's right.
who actually worked in the mayor's office there for
Yes.
several years.
They may have actually. Well, no, I was going to say they may overlap, but I don't think so.
Who knows?
But I'm sure they have stories to trade.
Oh my God! Will they ever?
So I know I had 1 year in when you were talking to the lawyers in terms of summer projects. A couple of large reports that I've been working on are the tax expenditure report, which again, maybe not directly related to everything you work on here, but there's a lot of information in there on programs that are, the intent is meant to spur sort of economic and workforce development priorities. So at some point, if you want to hear a little bit about some of those, I'm happy to come talk to you about them.
The good news is we have 3 members of Senate Finance in here,
Right. So
including the chair, so we could turn to Senator Cummings and ask if she prefers we not do that. But I do think it matters for us for holding accountable, our own priorities to whether or not it's helping businesses
Well,
grow or do
Yeah.
more work here, so.
and a huge percent of the tax expenditures are actually in manufacturing and in business.
That's right.
And are
Right.
incentives that we use, and are they effective? And I actually think we should be looking at them
Yeah.
because they are one of our tools in our tool basket for how we encourage and incent business. So
I still want at the end of this to know from joint fiscal why locomotives are exempt from state sales taxes. That's just.
I'll have to-
I've been trying to find that out for 10
I didn't
years
know
now.
that was a burning question. Right?
Yeah, there is an
Yeah.
exemption on rolling stock, that is true.
Sounds like an old titan of industry.
tugboats.
exception.
Yeah, yeah,
It is a
the ferry boats are also exempt, that's right.
That's right.
So yes, we probably have a fascination that we can
Mhm.
delve into at some morning.
And a personal plug for
Yeah.
myself, I'd love to talk about this earned income tax credit report I'm writing right now.
Oh,
which is
yes.
With the magnum opus on it,
Oh,
which
great.
I think is gonna be great. It's not done yet, so don't ask me
Okay.
for it.
Yes.
But that's being released same time as the tax expenditure report.
Right, and you're also doing some work on the film
That's
industry.
right. Other summer
Okay.
projects, I've been
Yeah.
working with Randy and Representative Jerome and a couple other individuals, looking at the film and media industry in the state. And, you know, we're starting to think about and look at, some modeling and what we can do to sort of think about tax incentives in that realm and other sort of infrastructure or support services that can be provided to sort of help spur the growth of that industry in the state.
And why those didn't work before,
Yes.
or
It's all
did.
part of it.
It's
Yes.
all,
Didn't.
it's good to revisit and to benefit Vermonters with our revisited knowledge. You know, we were talking recently about one of the most popular Netflix series is supposed to be based in Vermont and is
Jericho,
filmed in
Vermont.
Romania. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
or
it's-
why the most recent version of Moonlight, not Moonlight in Vermont, but White Christmas
Oh, my goodness,
was
yes.
actually done in British Columbia.
Exactly, yeah, so Vermonters deserve to know that we're taking these issues seriously as Vermont's brand continues to be featured in
That's right.
popular films and
This is one of the
television.
difficulties, that I've encountered with joint fiscal in the past, and I know Patrick is trying to close that gap, but there are some limitations, because so often we have a tendency to look at joint fiscals. This is a particular project that we are thinking of doing in the future. And joint fiscal is very good at looking at what's happened in the past, but there is no real mechanism to look at projection as an integral part of what you do. Now, we talked to Tom Cavet, for example, who does do that as an economist to some extent. But there is, when we go and try to say, if we start a new business or a new way of doing things or a new industry, what's the return on investment going to be? And there's a gap in terms of getting the expertise that we need to help us project. And so that's something that's a work in progress. I think we made some good progress on it in dealing with the film industry.
Yeah.
Task force.
And I think that's right, and it raises a good point. So one thing that our office doesn't do is, dynamic modeling, which is a bit of what Randy's talking about here. There's a lot of difficulties and uncertainties with doing that kind of modeling. It's basically the question of if we put X number of dollars in, how much do we get out? There are some tools out there that help you approximate what that can be. One of the difficulties, personally, I always say it can show you sort of a sense of direction or maybe magnitude, but it's always really difficult to hang your hat on a particular number that comes out of that kind of modeling.
Yeah.
Sure, for that matter, even a range.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. It's something that we don't currently do. You do have Tom Cavet, the legislative economist, available to you for more in-depth projects like that. It's something that his firm does do.
But we value your accuracy, and commitment to integrity, so it's always helpful when you tell us this is what we
One thing, of
can't
course, you
do.
always remember about economists, it's one of the few professions that isn't licensed.
Exactly, right, no. we
That's
are.
true. And our favorite answer to every question is it depends.
Right.
And so, let's see, I worked with Tucker and continuing to work with him on everything related to sports betting. I will say, he's definitely the heavy lifter on that. The
Yes.
amount of legal research that went into that is,
Huge.
I'm impressed myself.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it was a very busy summer. I also got married.
Oh, how exciting. I hadn't realized that happened.
And last year I also had the pleasure of meeting Allison's son. He's a very good friend of a cousin of mine who I'm very close with. And he's a lovely boy.
He's now a man. He's now our state's attorney in Windsor County, which is very
Oh, is
exciting.
that right?
Oh, no, this is William.
William, yeah.
This is William.
I think I was like, you do have two sons,
I
you
do,
know.
I'd forgotten it was William.
And so,
Is there anything you want us to know about how you like to collaborate?
yeah. So I know you've mentioned that you're hoping for, particularly for larger bills, have, sort of regular, maybe not necessarily in committee meetings, just to sort of iron out details before you, bring them forth. I'd love to be involved in that. Generally, if you have an idea that you're percolating, it's always great to get us in as soon as possible, just so we can start thinking about it. And even if you're at a point where, okay, we can pull some numbers on that,
Yes.
that's, I think that helps everyone, including us, like keeping us in the loop. Yeah, I mean, I guess generally the rule of thumb is I'd say, like, bring us into the fold on any conversations you're having, sooner rather than later, just so we can,
Do
because
your
we,
best work.
we don't know every last line in statute, so we don't actually know everything. So it gives us time to do a little lead research and just make sure that we're giving you what you need on that.
We appreciate that. And you're back, where were we born, raised? Where did
I am
get
from
to us?
Elmore, Vermont.
Oh,
Yeah.
not far.
No, not far, just about a half hour down through the woods. Yeah, and so before I was at Joint Fiscal, I spent a couple of years doing infrastructure economics consulting for a large company in Boston. Tracking billable hours was not my thing. And yeah, so I've worked a few different roles in the economic realm prior to there. And I have a insane border collie named Roisin. So,
Roisin.
Roisin, yes, it's a Gaelic name. So she keeps me busy, that's for sure.
Is she vocal? Has she been?
No, you know
Okay.
what? Border collies have a reputation for being really barky.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do that, which is nice.
That's one
But
of
she
saving
does
grace.
herd you. She herds
A
everybody.
little bit, but I will say she's very manipulative and she's very willful.
Probably smarter than
Me.
many of us. Yeah. They are smart dogs.
And where are you living now? Are you
I'm
living
in Waterbury Center.
Oh,
So I guess I'm not here with my constituent hat on for any of you, but anytime I go into House General, I have to tell Tom Steve. Oh, that's
and
right,
it's
that's
now
right.
right.
Good point.
Yeah.
I have to make a point when I come to tell you I've got my staff hat on.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
So,
Well, it's great to have you in you because this is your second year.
yes, so I started in October of, what year is it? 2021 is when I started. So this is my second go round. We'll see if you guys are just as busy as you were last session.
I don't want to say maybe more so, in a different way, hopefully volume of work and following where dollars went
Yep.
and what impact they have.
Oh, and that's a good point. Another thing I want to touch base with you on is, in addition to any sort of estimates or modeling, you can kind of view me as like a budget liaison for you. Like, I know you're not always going to have a direct ear with Stephanie or Jane or something like that. But if you have a question, it's like, hey, can you tell us, how much was appropriated to this program in the past? How much do they have left? What did they accomplish? I can look into those sort of details for you as well.
That's gonna front load our work. I would hazard to guess.
That's true of most. communities so far.
Exactly.
Yes.
One issue that I might raise, and this probably goes to the issue of JFO's capability to do reviews of things that are happening, are recently happening, as opposed to the higher level budgetary work, and the separation between what JFO's capability might be to help us in an issue versus the auditor's office. And in particular, what I'm thinking about is the unemployment issue and how much money in improper payments have we made over the past several years, and what has been the extent of fraud against the unemployment fund in the past couple of years during the pandemic. The Department of Labor has been spectacularly unable to quantify any of these risks, which to me is very concerning. Normally what we might do is to see if we can get the auditor's office involved. They typically don't have the staffing to do this kind of thing very easily or in a very timely fashion. One question is, to what extent can joint fiscal help us get at least a high level look at what's the extent of the problem? And there I'm talking about the extent of unemployment fraud and the extent of improper payments. I know that improper payments from the unemployment fund were something like $55 million over a 10-year period, the last 10-year period that we were able to isolate that. And that was concerning at that time. An improper payment, I won't go through all the issues of definition, I'm sure you know what I mean by that. And just, I'd like just to get a feel for what could JFO do for us to help us answer some of those high-level questions. And I'm not asking, to do a full audit or anything of that nature.
Right.
I'm trying to say, can you take another look into the picture that they have? And one of the things we may find is that they don't have much of a picture into it at all. What we did do is we had a firm come in and take a look at the whole internal controls picture supposedly of that and shine a light. This is a legislative study that we had done last year. I thought I was not happy with the study. I had very little confidence in it effectively doing what we asked it to do, but I'm not sure whether you guys were involved at all. You could just take a look.
I'm not sure what our involvement is in that particular instance,
You may not have been. You may not have been.
Well, it also may have been before I was there, true too.
This was in the past year.
Okay. Well, we aren't auditors. We don't have any policy analysts. We're fiscal analysts. So that's a little bit outside of our normal realm. I'm not sure what's been done sort of similar to that in the past, but I'm willing to ask around our office to see what's been done related to, maybe not necessarily to do with this, but in other instances. I know, I keep saying his name, Tom Quebec's been involved in programs such as like the capital investment program, making sure that, money was being appropriately spent given the, economic impact modeling that was a part of that program. So, that's, if there was something we were to take on, it might be an avenue we went towards. I know you mentioned the auditor's office. It can be difficult for them to free up the resources from it, but from my ear, that'd be the first place that would pop into my mind for looking like that. But happy to run it up to Flagpole to see what's been done in the past on that.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
It is, I'm just saying out loud, Scott, that we should probably add the auditor's office to our list of upcoming testimony to take. I think I have similar feelings to Senator Brock about IT projects, and sometimes we hear this is going to cost $2 million, and it is hard to figure out why that is. And so sometimes we don't know where that oversight goes of a big budgetary expenditure that seems to be unaccounted for, and we should probably have the auditor's office in to make it a two-way street. They're not just telling us what they've been working on, but asking them to look into things that we think are concerning.
There is the Joint Information Technology Oversight Committee, which from a legislative standpoint has a finger in to looking at things like that. And it's not infrequent when we have a new major IT project that joint fiscal, or for that matter, it's added legislation, a requirement that JTOC take a look at it, and where we can spend the time in talking with the Agency of Digital Services and others, as well as the agency that certified the project, to get a sense of, does it make sense from a fiscal standpoint, how much is going to be spent and when and for what. And so that is something that we
I should have talked to you about DFR and our COVID relief dollars that were supposed to go out, and this was very expensive software purchase. So Are you on that committee still?
I chair it now.
You chair-
I chair it until, well, this biennium, it switches back and forth
It goes
between the
to the
House and the
House.
Senate, so I'm coming off. as
But you
chair.
have to stay on.
I expect.
Okay. Sorry to go on some tangents here. Anything else on your end? Any questions?
Well, I know, okay. In the past, like, JFO hasn't necessarily had like a more proactive role with this committee as we might have with Senate Finance or Ways and
Mhm.
Means.
Yeah.
But, we're fully staffed now, so, going forward, I'm planning on being sort of your point person here, and I'm planning on hanging out a little bit more, and I'm trying to do the same thing with other committees as well, especially on the House side, so, if there's a particular subject you'd like me to just kind of come hang out on, if I'm not doing anything in particular, I'd be happy to come and just sit and listen and take notes,
Great.
answer questions if they come up. But yeah, similar to them, kind of first come, first serve. If I'm already booked on someone else, I don't want to renege.
Mhm.
It'll be the same for Emily and Joyce. I think that's all I've got. I did bring a surprise witness with me today. I know
Yes,
that
yeah.
cannabis is going to be moving a little bit more into your jurisdiction, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about that with JFO, and Senator Sears does feel that's an appropriate move as well, that it's now a differently regulated vice, as we might say in this
Right.
committee.
We are the vice.
Yeah, so I do think that's fairly certain that we'll have jurisdiction over most of the market
Yeah.
now.
Well, I'll just give him an opportunity to tell you a little
Yeah.
bit about himself, where
Thank
he's
you.
from and all that. But,
Great.
he just started in
November.
November.
Oh,
so
my
he's
gosh.
very
Our
fresh.
newest member,
So-
JFO.
They'll be able to tell you all about how nice we are to him and how we've been
You
getting.
haven't developed a bad habit yet.
Okay, as you leave the witness.
Yes.
Thank you, Pat.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ted Barnett, and as Pat said, I started at the JFO in November.
Barnett with a B,
With a B, Barnett, yes.
like the town.
Like the town, exactly. I've not made it up there, but I do owe my parents a picture of me with like some town of Barnett thing in the background, for sure. So yeah, Pat brought me in because I am taking over cannabis kind of revenue forecasting and general expertise from Graham. Graham has introduced me to the model
Yeah.
that is in-house and we've been using, so I'm getting familiar with that and also educating myself on other states' experience with cannabis. Vermont, in its slower start, it's going to be interesting to see how Vermont's experience in terms of revenue and size of market compares to other states. And particularly now that a lot of states have gotten larger and really are having trouble finding the right size of the market. But that's for another time. I will also be participating, I think Emily mentioned today, on TIFF. If she is not in the office in March.
Yeah.
But outside of that, also learning a bit about fees, if any of those change throughout the legislative session, I'll be working on that. And assault cap reduction also seems to be in my wheelhouse as well, but
Okay.
I'm new, they're still trying to,
Yeah.
they're still trying to figure out, I think, ways in which I can be most helpful.
Great. Just to clarify, what we might call vices are not under your jurisdiction, so liquor lottery is.
That's
No,
a
that's
pet.
Pat.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
I'm sure you'd love to offload that at some point,
We'll see.
yes.
Oh, it keeps him bonded to Tucker. I mean, it's a good thing. You're a good team. So, and Ted, where did you come to us from?
I am originally from Florida. I moved to Vermont in 2019.
Oh, you and Wendy Harrison have this in common.
Yeah, I might have heard this. Yes, so I am from Florida. But I eventually realized my first job out of college, I moved to Connecticut. I realized I love seasons. I love being able to get outdoors. And so Vermont was just like a really good fit. Florida was not as much, but here I am. I really love it. I live in Williamstown. And I bought a house with my fiance about 6 months ago there.
Oh, wonderful.
Congratulations.
Yes, yes,
For more permanent Vermonters.
exactly.
Who are buying homes.
Yes, and our house is like 200 years old. So really in terms of free time, that is what I do.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm trying to think. So I came to the JFO from, I was the CFO of the Rutland County Parent-Child Center.
Oh,
So I also have a bunch of expertise in childcare, and I'm sure that will be like,
oh,
I've already been asked in the office.
those
very
will be
special-
well used
Yes,
this
Yeah.
year.
yes. So that's what I primarily did in Vermont.
Do you have a preference on email, phone calls, being physically here, that kind of thing.
I do not actually, since I'm so new.
It
I
is a
don't-
month and, yeah,
Yes,
we
You
think.
get to help set his standard.
That's right, exactly. I'm excited for that. Yeah, but generally I prefer to be in person as much as possible. If there,
Okay,
I do, I'm excited, right, that it's my first session and also that, post-COVID, we do get to interact face to face. I do appreciate that.
Great.
Well,
Yes,
welcome aboard.
thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here.
There are no seatbelts. It's a bumpy ride.
Yeah, I'm fully prepared.
Allison kept me up till midnight last session.
We try not to do that or train people that that's an expectation.
Yeah, no, I'm bad. I work very late, so I hear.
I do too. I shouldn't have said, that was the wrong thing to say, wasn't it? But yes,
Well,
I'm definitely not. Yes.
It's in the only time when this building is quiet is after, and even then, the lounge is a busy place during session, or at least it has been. Now I'm hoping it will be again.
But truly, you should feel free to go to Catherine or any of us if you feel like you're being stretched too much or
Yeah, and
asked
just
to
to be
do something
direct.
too late at night or
Great.
too early in the
Yeah, but we all are very good about responding to when people are direct.
Yes,
Great, I appreciate that.
yeah, we appreciate having you. Thank you.
Of
And,
course.
and really, thank you in advance for a warm handoff in March or April or whatever, knock on wood, occurs. And, we'll try to give you a lot of grace on that as well, because that's really valuable that you're,
I'll be
Yes.
available to support.
we'll give you all a lot of grace.
So it won't just be Ted on an island, don't worry.
Right,
Right.
sounds like you're.
Head on an island.
I mean, that does sound nice. It will, and particularly in March, right? Yeah,
Yeah, true.
It
yeah,
sounds like a film.
right.
Some survivalist kind of.
Yes, and generally, the other thing I said, I was in Tracy's meeting this morning, is I just wanted to mention that I do appreciate questions just because it gives me a chance to learn about a specific issue. So even if I can't give you an answer necessarily right away, it gives me a good opportunity to learn about something new because the world of the legislature is quite large. And
Yes.
so, yes, this gives me. an
We're
excuse.
gonna learn together on cannabis.
Great.
Because it'll be a new jurisdiction. Our committee's used to the cycle of different vices and introducing new ways of enhancing the market while regulating them at the same time, but be on that journey together.
Great,
Yeah.
sounds fantastic.
Well, thank you both, and thank you for representing other colleagues and managing other people's schedules. We rely heavily on JFO, and we know that it's nice. when
Give-
people
give them our best.
Semi-retire.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
I think Emily's still planning on popping in at some point.
Okay,
Yes.
Well,
we'll
we're
jump
here
into
till about,
that,
yeah,
and
we'll be here till like 11:25-ish.
yes.
We're on the floor at 11:30.
Do you have a sense of the time she said she thought she?
I knew she had a meeting going until 11.
Until 11, and then she would try to either pop over or pop into Zoom, so.
I'm sure we'll informally be here after 11:15, but if we can break at 11:15, it's not urgent that she rush over here. at 11:15.
Not bless you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
can keep tabs on her.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to have you. Both.
So I just want to say while we're still live and we're transitioning to hearing from our illustrious committee assistant that I, without saying too much, I'm just really, really grateful that we still have Scott helping our committee.
Absolutely.
He is in very high demand in this building, and we really wanted him to stay here. I'll speak for myself.
That's why we gave you such bad recommendations.
Exactly.
I did get 3 excellents instead of 3 outstanding.
Okay.
You know.
But we love
Yeah, but we're really grateful. You've done a wonderful job for us, I think.
Well, you guys know me, but for Senator Harrison and Senator Cummings, who aren't here, but if they're watching later. Quickly, I spent 20 years as a damage expert for securities litigation, so I was used to working with lawyers. I did a lot of work with Fidelity, Senator Buck, I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
One of my passions, I am the managing director for a small nonprofit summer camp. We do a 1-week overnight summer camp for underprivileged rural kids in Vermont. So that is a free camp for them. I've invited you all. You're welcome to come. I think you've seen some of them from the past.
Exclamation.
Camp exclamation point, yes. It is very exclamatory when we're there with the kids. So, and thank you all for your support last year of the camp. I really appreciate that. And Senator, I was just taking a moment to say hi. Let people know about me. And these three senators know my phone number. I'll make sure you have my phone number. You are welcome to call me or text me after hours, email me after hours. I might not respond right away after hours. But
And I won't call, I'll email, so,
you're always welcome.
Senator
to-
Sorokin was a big emailer too.
no, I don't believe in having staff work at 10 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Appreciate it. Appreciate
So,
it. I think sometimes what happens is if you do remote and you're having trouble finding the link, Scott's really good about
Oh,
text
that,
message
yes.
and that kind of thing, which is appreciated.
okay.
But growing up, my family, taught me the customer service bent in life. And so I pride myself in my customer service and I treat you as my customers. So I will do everything I can to make sure this runs as smoothly as possible for you guys. So if you have certain preferences, you would like a certain, notepad, or you want me to, email you a certain anything, please don't hesitate to send comments, let me know. I'm happy to sort out whatever I can to make things work smoothly. I try to think of all of your concerns ahead of time to get things ready before you notice it. I will do my absolute best again this year to do that. But one of the notes is this year I've been asked to also be the support person for all the other Senate committee assistants.
Seen that in action.
Oh, that's why you've been in my committee
Yes,
room.
ma'am. Yeah.
So supporting your committee assistant is our business.
Good.
That is something else that I will also be doing, so I anticipate it won't really affect, my service to you, but I might be also half thinking of everyone else in the building too. But if my service dims, that'll be why.
Yeah.
It won't.
No, I think it's a feather in our cap and it is why we're lucky to have you. I think it's a good time to mention that we are probably, did we figure out when we're gonna do scheduling each week?
We talked about doing some agenda planning, but talking to doing it on Wednesdays at 11:30, but we had talked about if we started earlier, so we might have to think about,
Maybe Thursday morning early,
Thursday morning. early.
Yeah, now that we start at 9, usually we can do it
Right.
at 8:30.
at 8:30.
So we can talk a little bit about how things have shifted a little bit in terms of what we might want to do for our weekly meetings and meeting with JFO and Let's Council. We'd also talked about meeting with some of the House committees about some planning and stuff in the future, so we can discuss that a little bit. I won't bore the YouTube world with our, machinations of exactly what time frame and everything we're doing. So we might have to just figure that out a little bit.
Exactly. And I just want everyone to feel comfortable, as long as you are, with telling Scott, I think we should hear from this person. If you say that loud in committee, Scott's gonna be listening with one ear.
I've already written
Breathe
down
and
a
write
whole
in
pile of
this.
things for today. So.
I am more forgetful.
That's
than
what I
usual.
told Jill I needed her to do, because when
Exactly.
you're running the committee,
Yeah.
you're watching the agenda, you're listening.
Right,
And I don't always remember or get written down
yeah.
who we should hear from on this.
Yes,
issue.
Scott is the better half of my brain right now, and I will say that live as well for people
Recorded
who want,
forever.
yes, who want just to get 5 minutes of our time on a particular topic is.
So maybe copying Scott when they email you is not a bad idea.
Scott will always check in with me, even if you go directly to him, so that's all fine as well. And I don't want people to miss the opportunity to weigh in on scheduling. If there's a topic where you are the lead for the committee, you can feel free anytime to join scheduling, but everyone's busy. But it might be helpful one of those days to come in or to download with Scott separately before we have that meeting. So we'll let everyone know when we finally decide to try and do that regularly. And Scott, as you may have heard a little bit, is helping us make sure we stay in more regular touch with our House counterparts, JFO and Let's Council, sometimes by topics, sometimes early in the session, just to check in generally. So again, if it's a subject where you have accepted delegation, and again, I'm looking at Senator Cummings, who's probably gonna be too busy to ever do that part, and we'll probably be called in to do that for finance. But, you know, just wanna make sure people don't feel left out of a conversation where they're gonna be accountable on the floor or have a particular passion or interest.
Great.
I mean, Scott is the greatest. We're so grateful to have you. And, you know, Scott's biggest folly is sometimes, you know, working too much or too hard for us. And so we're all gonna have to be conscientious of asking him to go home when he should. And, you know, that's a good problem to have. So we really appreciate Scott.
You can just edit out, but you can't edit in. We are so grateful to have you.
And it is actually fun to watch other committee citizens come in here and ask for your help, because, you know, it is the bedrock of what we do. And it's really nice that you're so helpful. And with that, it's around 11:15.
Right.
I think it's hi, Senator Kennedy. We were just about to go offline. We thought you were Emily Burr.
Well, I just wanted to, Pro Tem, just want to make sure everybody's here. You're missing one person?
Senator
Yeah, thank
Harrison
you.
is remote today.
11 minutes.
Okay.
Too bad.
This is like an emergency going on
No, he's just,
today.
Yeah, because Pro Tem just left for fiscal. I don't even know if he's gotten back from his office.
I'm extremely gullible.
We're all set.
I think we're set.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Emily another time. We are ready to break at 11:15. We, I'll say live as well, are unlikely to have committee on Tuesday. You know, it's early in the
We have
session.
sexual harassment.
We have
training,
sexual
I believe,
harassment.
don't we?
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Tuesday
Yeah,
morning.
we're not gonna,
Yeah, it feels too early to make people come in an hour before the floor for updates. But next week, we will mostly be hearing from the administration and then start to fill in with some of our other major stakeholders from other big agencies and quasi-governmental organizations. And they'll start to touch on some of the appropriations. We've been interested in the studies that we've commissioned. We'll just get updates as every other committee is doing. So thank you all. It's a great committee, and we'll meet again likely on Wednesday, but always